Brian Hartline's so good. It's a guy that he made so much money in the NFL. He probably just could have kicked his feet up and just relaxed for the rest of his life. But here he is working his butt off. Just kind of what makes him so good.
Well, I think Brian obviously did a great job of playing in the NFL, but I think he wants to have a career moving forward. He's he's a young guy, so he's got a long life ahead of him, and he and Kara have started a family, and they love Columbus, and he's really embraced this role. He kind of got thrown into it, but he's putting his heart and soul in it and doing a good job building relationships with his players and growing every day as a coach, because it's different when you go from a player to a coach. But he's off to a great start.
You've had 7 straight blowouts. Is there a part of you that is looking forward to having this kind of game where it really should be a fourth quarter game and you really will be tested, find out how good you are?
Well, we prepare every week to play 60 minutes, but we know it's going to be like that this week, and so we're preparing. We knew it was going to be like this, and certainly when you play Wisconsin, you got to be ready to play 60 minutes. Field position game, understanding what that means, and it's going to be tough at times, but we know that and we got to work through it.
Yeah, Ryan, everybody's making a big deal about Wisconsin's running game, Wisconsin's offensive line, et cetera. How do you sense chip on the shoulder factor is for your offensive line and your running back in this? Is this a kind of a step up, prove me kind of game?
Well, I mean, I think Coach Mick said it the other day is that when you any time you go into a game, you have a one-on-one battle that you have to win, and so I think our guys are looking hard at that, and this is by far the biggest challenge we've had, both sides of the ball. One of the better offenses and best defenses in the country that we've seen. And so, yeah, we're being challenged in all areas. And I think anytime, it's the same thing with coaches. We're being challenged. And so when you wake up every morning, I mean, the competitor in you tells you, you got to work and do a better job than they do.
Ryan, I know it's just one play from last week, but it was like 3rd and 8 in the first quarter, gave it to J.K. What gives a coach or play caller the faith that you can move the chains, just handing it off and running in that situation?
Well, I mean, those are decisions that are made early in the week, and there's certain times where you get looks that you like, or sometimes you just make the decision you're going to call it at that time, and you have to live with the consequences. If you get stuffed on a 3rd down, you can get second guessed on why you run it on 3rd down, but when you hit it, it works. And I think anytime you can run the ball on 3rd down, you can calm down a little bit what they're doing in terms of their schematics and different exotic blitzes that maybe aren't great against the run. So. We've done that a decent amount. We like to do that, to keep guys off balance, but it's calculated risk.
I know the plan to win, but I assume winning up front is kind of the gospel every week. But if you don't win up front, you have no shot in this game, correct? I mean,
any game, but certainly this week.
You were asked about your 3rd down success the other day. The idea of, and you mentioned making sure you don't get in too many 3rd and longs, that helps with 3rd down success. You always talk about staying on schedule. Just that part of it, and I didn't look up the numbers yet. I don't know, you probably have. Have you done a good job staying out of 3rd and long and giving yourselves chances to convert? Have you been pleased with that part of it, or this still happens sometimes?
We've been spotty. I think there's been times we've got ourselves into 3rd and long situations that we can do a much better job of. Other times when we get ourselves into a rhythm, then we're a little bit more on schedule, and 3rd and manageable is something that we've been decent at so far this year. But I think it's important. I think it's important on both sides of the ball. The more 3rd and longs that we can stay out of or force them into, I think the advantage for us.
Being a head coach this year, what have you gained from maybe being more involved with the defense? Maybe are there different personalities on that side of the ball, and are you just learning more about football with more interaction with that side of the ball?
No, I don't think it's more X's and O's. I think if anything, being a head coach, you learn more about just people, motivating people, managing people, how that works. Creating a vision, and then setting the standard to make sure everybody lives up to that standard, and then kind of leading them towards that vision. That's more the football actually is less than it was. When you're assistant coach, you're really into the X's and O's, which I still on a day-to-day basis am, but it's more of the other stuff.
Ryan, you said on a radio show that weather isn't anything you can control, but are there things that you adjust in your game plan during the week when you know there could be a chance for rain on Saturday?
Not really. we have to make adjustments as individuals, guys who carry the ball. But other than that, we're still gonna have the same game plan regardless of the weather, unless it's just completely brutal. Which there's different levels of rain too. I mean, there's kind of where it's out there, it's raining, but then there's also the stuff that's sideways, like in that Illinois game a couple years ago. It was hard to even take a snap. So in those situations, you got to be a little more conservative. But if it's just raining out, then we have our full arsenal.
I've been going through some of my notes, and some of your players were discussing how you were talking about the Nebraska game in January, and last week you mentioned discussing the Northwestern game in February. Have you been going line by line through your schedule over the course of the winter? Is that how you did that?
Well, we at the beginning of the season, we looked at the schedule and we said, all right, here's the schedule. And, as you look at it, it's a long 12 games and you understand what it takes. But when you start to look at it one game at a time, and you just, that's the way you look at it. If you cross out everything else, you don't look what's happened in the past, you don't look what's in the forward, you just look at that team and you stay focused. I think that gives our guys a good visual of just stay locked in on this game. Don't worry about what's coming in the future. Don't worry about what's going on in the past. Let's do a great job right now and do a good job with this practice, do a good job with this day, and then everything else will take care of itself when we pick our heads up in January.
By beginning of the season, you mean January?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it in the spring, different team meetings. I forget exactly when, but sure, yeah. And then the preseason as well.
You talked about this, I think, earlier this week as well, but how would you kind of assess Justin's ability before snap and kind of sliding the line, like pre-protection? Like, how is he up to speed in that regard?
Good. I think he and Josh are doing a good job. I mean, this is the second year in a row now we've had to take, pretty sophisticated offense and have a new center and a new quarterback. Last year it was Michael Jordan and Dwayne. This year it's Josh and Justin, and they're both getting better at it every week.
Ryan, when you're playing a team like Wisconsin that's as run heavy but also has receiving options, how cognizant do you have to be of the play action?
Yeah, that's huge.
Not getting hit?
Yeah, that's huge on first, second down. Yeah, for sure. And I think that's where guys got to be disciplined with their keys, get their eyes in the right place, and then third down is more of drop back. But they have a good arsenal of stuff they do as well. Coach Chris does a good job in terms of mixing it up, and but certainly when you have heavy run tendencies, then play action, you become susceptible to that.
Looking at Wisconsin, just watching them, it seems like they throw more on first down than they have in the past. Have you guys noticed that they're doing some of that earlier than maybe they would?
They change it up, and it's like anything else. When you look at your self-scout, you try to figure out what your tendencies are, and then you break them. And so I think that's kind of what they're trying to do there, and that's usually a week-to-week thing.
Hey, Ryan, what was it about Justin that made you know that you needed him right when he entered the portal?
I don't know if that was the case or not. I think that once he entered the portal, had great conversations and kind of figure out what his thoughts were, and then it kind of grew from there. And then it all worked out, and to see him, come here in a short period of time and assimilate himself to the team, and teams taking him in has been great to see.
Last question, Bruce.
With Chase Young, I just wonder how many different modes of dealing with him you've seen from the opponent this season, and there's this school of thought that if you have a great pass rusher, you run at him. This would be a team that would have the capacity to do that. Have teams tried to do that, or can you speak to the fact that Chase's abilities extend beyond his ability to just get to the passer?
Yeah, I think that's what makes him special, is that he's very versatile in what he can do. He plays the run, he plays the pass, he can beat you with speed, he can beat you with power. He's very versatile that way, and I think some people say go right at guys like that. That's a theory, and I think it sounds good, but you still have to block them. And but I think they'll certainly have a good plan for handling Chase, and Chase is going to do a good job of adapting as the game goes on. But then the guys around him got to help him out too.
Variation in how teams have tried to deal with him.
Yeah, I think everybody has a little bit of an idea, but they don't want to go overboard either. So we'll kind of see what Wisconsin's plan is.